In this topic, you'll learn how to turn a vague concern into a clear, defensible case file. We'll walk through your reporting obligations, then focus on how to structure strong SAR narratives and document your analysis so regulators, auditors, and colleagues can easily follow your reasoning from start to finish. When you detect suspicious activity, you're not just raising an internal concern, you're triggering a formal legal process. Your report ultimately feeds into the country's financial intelligence unit, which analyzes and shares that intelligence. Around this sit AML CFT laws, FIU regulations, and your institution's policies. Your responsibility is to follow the strictest applicable standard at all times. Picture all transactions passing through a funnel. Only a tiny fraction becomes a reportable case. Two forces drive that: objective thresholds and risk-based judgment. Objective triggers are hard rules, for example, large cash deposits, high-value cross-border transfers, or obvious structuring around legal limits. Risk-based triggers are softer signals, patterns that don't fit the customer, sudden rapid movement of funds, or links to high-risk jurisdictions. When either signal is strong enough, you move toward preparing a suspicious activity report. Tipping off is one of the biggest legal and practical risks in AML work. Once suspicion forms, information must stay within a strict need-to-know circle. That usually includes the MLRO, compliance, and a few relevant managers, not the whole team. You must never hint to the customer that a report is being considered or filed. No warnings, and no subtle advice to withdraw or fix past activity. Use only approved systems to communicate, and meet all reporting deadlines without side conversations. For regulators, the SAR narrative is the first thing they focus on. It's your investigation story: what happened, who was involved, when and where it occurred, how it was detected, and why it is suspicious. Your aim is a short, factual, well-structured explanation, using plain language and avoiding unexplained internal codes or jargon. Every strong suspicious activity narrative starts with clear background and context. Begin by anchoring the reader: who the customer is, what type of relationship you have, and since when. Then describe the expected profile: their business or occupation, normal products used, and what typical transaction patterns should look like. Finally, briefly note key risk factors, such as high-risk industry, PEP status, or risky jurisdictions. Keep it focused. Only include facts that help explain why the later activity is unusual. When you describe suspicious activity, build it like a timeline. First, set out the raw activity: dates, amounts, counterparties, and channels. Next, highlight patterns: rapid in and out flows, circular movements, use of many accounts, or structuring around thresholds. Then, explain why this behavior is unusual for this particular customer. Throughout, clearly separate factual observations from your analysis and avoid emotional or speculative language. After the activity is clear, guide the reader to your supporting evidence. Point to the documents that back your suspicion: which KYC files, which transaction records, which emails, and which adverse media hits. Then describe how the institution responded: monitoring steps, customer outreach, restrictions, or closure. Add any linked cases or previous SARs to show the wider context. Don't paste documents into the narrative. Instead, state exactly where they're stored in your system. Writing AML narratives means shifting from accusation to objective description. Poor narratives jump straight to labels like clearly laundering, use emotional language, and stay vague about what actually happened. Strong narratives read almost like a logbook. They anchor everything in dates, amounts, and patterns, and explain why activity is unusual without declaring guilt. Regulators want facts and indicators, not your personal verdict on the customer. Internal case management is the shield that protects your institution once a suspicion is raised. It connects every alert, investigation step, decision, and action into a single, traceable story. Regulators expect that, from the case file alone, an independent reviewer can see what happened, who did what, when, and why, without any extra explanations or meetings. Treat your investigation file as something that must be able to speak for itself to regulators, auditors, or law enforcement. First, record what you actually did: data reviewed, systems accessed, people contacted, and their responses. Next, Summarize your analysis, how you interpreted the transactions, behavior, and any external information. Finally, document clear conclusions and rationale, whether you escalated with a SAR or closed the case as non-suspicious. When you decide whether to file a SAR, think in terms of an auditable chain. Start by ensuring you can reconstruct the escalation path, who handled the case at each stage and when. Then, write decisions in clear language, not shorthand or informal notes. Also, capture dates, names, and the reasoning for filing, not filing, or continuing to monitor. And make sure the full case file is retained in line with your jurisdiction's legal requirements. Your responsibilities continue after the STR is filed. Every follow-up action must be captured. Restrictions on the account, relationship exit, EDD steps, or changes to monitoring. Record all interactions with the FIU or regulators, including questions, requests for clarification, and your responses. In the end, aim for a standalone case file. Someone new should understand the full story, facts, analysis, and decisions, using only the documentation you've left behind. Think of every AML case as a single story that must stay consistent from start to finish. The alert explains what first looked unusual. Your internal file shows what you checked, what you concluded, and who approved it. The SAR narrative then presents that same story to the FIU, using clear facts and logic. Any gap, contradiction, or missing approval breaks the story and weakens your institution's defense. When you close a case, review it as a regulator would. Is the story complete and logical, with clear who, what, when, where, how, and why? Is your language neutral and fact-based? Can someone reconstruct every step from your file alone? And ultimately, would you be comfortable defending it in court?